I got it, I think. Hello, guys. What does Moses have to say about the apocalypse? Moses never says that God will bring about any sort of supernatural world events. Instead, Moses says mankind is not smart enough to govern ourselves. We will inevitably make ourselves vulnerable to natural occurring phenomena that will end up destroying us. The universe knows more ways to kill us than we can imagine ways to die. The planet we live on and its sun do not like electrical conductors longer than 1,000 feet. Now think about that a little bit. In fact, this happened in 1859, 160 years ago. This world, this planet, does not like to have an electrical conductor, a wire, that's longer than 1,000 feet. Now, before 1859, it happened again in 1770. That was even a bigger one, a stronger one. Again in 1730. Before that, 1586. On average, about every 100 years, the sun and the earth work together to search out any and all and every single electrical conductor longer than 1,000 feet. Our planet and sun reduce that to a molten puddle of metal. Maybe other solar systems work differently? Probably not. However, we know ours does so. Now, before 1859, there weren't any conductors of that length. Before 1859, these massive solar storms were just beautiful nighttime light shows. These light shows appear in ancient literature all the time, all the way back forever. But in 1859, mankind has strung up thousands of miles of copper telegraph wires. This solar monster came looking. Europe and North America telegraph systems were destroyed. Much weaker storms hit us in 1989 and 2003. These storms ended up cutting electrical power to 6 million people. The entire Canadian province of Quebec was out of power for 9 hours. The New York Stock Exchange was shut down in another one. But those were just small ones. But every 100 years or so, a big one comes. If you want, Google Carrington event, and you can see the details. Telegraph offices actually burnt down. It's just our hubris that makes us vulnerable to naturally reoccurring phenomena that have been happening for all of human history without effect on living creatures until we started acting stupid. The 1770 storm was much stronger than the 1859. When the next storm comes along, the lights will go out all over the world. It's not just about resetting circuit breakers. The infrastructure will have been destroyed. Tens of thousands of electrical transformers will have been reduced to molten puddles of copper. Even if the few factories that build these massive transformers were not also reduced to molten puddles, it would take years to replace the broken ones. But years of without electricity isn't even nearly the worst problem. Every electronic and electrical device is fried. The biggest problem will be water. Half of the world's population lives in cities now. Giant electric pumps pump our water. Imagine what happens if those electrical pumps are reduced to a molten pool of copper wire. Imagine the lights go out. Okay, that happens. We just wait a little bit, comes back on. We wait an hour, not back on. We look at our phones, and most of us will look at our phones long sooner than that. But they're off, and we can't turn them on. We have no idea what happened. There's no panic yet. The food in the fridge is still okay. We're waiting. It's been an hour. But we can't find anything on TV. We can't find anything on the radio. We have no phones. We don't know where our loved ones are. Okay, we start getting a little worried. But then we get thirsty. There's no water. We turn on the faucet and nothing comes out. Now we're worried. Still no news, no internet, no TV, no radio, no phone. We go to the garage. We want to take the car to the last place we knew loved ones were. We haven't heard from them. We're worried. The car won't start. Now panic starts to set in. Here's the problem. When 3 days go by, no one has any idea what's happened. There's no electricity, there's no communication, no phone, no radio, no TV, no internet, and no water. After 3 days, the only people that still survive are those who found a source of fresh, clean water. Everyone else is dead. Half of the world's population live in cities. Where would you go to find fresh, clean water? Not dysentery or cholera or other waterborne diseases from the river. Fresh, clean water. After a month, the only survivors have found water and a source of food. Remember, the grocery stores will have been looted by the second day. After a month, the only people left alive have found water and food. But it gets worse. After 3 months, the only people left alive found water and a sustainable, refreshable source of food. After the first winter, the only people left alive found water and a sustainable source of food and shelter from winter with wood-burning heat. Now think about this. After a year, some clever lads, all of whom have found these necessary things, gather around a campfire to discuss their predicament. Remember, when the disaster first happened, you couldn't just organize a rescue. There was no way to call people. Maybe somebody had a thought that we'll just call people and drive trucks to lakes, and they'll pump water in, and then drive the trucks back to cities, and then everyone will have water. First problem, no communication. Can't call anyone. Well, let's say magically you fix that, and you call hundreds of drivers, thousands of drivers all around the country, and they say, yes, we'll go drive because my family needs water too. I'm going to go drive and get some water. They go to the trucks. the trucks don't start. But let's say magically the trucks started. They drive them to a lake. They're not sure where it is, and they have no GPS to get them there. But let's say magically they find their way to lakes with clean, fresh water. Now they don't have any pumps or generators to power pumps. Even if they had the pumps, that wouldn't work if they're connected to power. They have no generators that won't work. But let's say they actually did find generators that work and pumps that work and filled the tankers with water. They drive them back to the city. There's no way to alert people that there's water at this or that particular place in the city. It's not going to work. So, after a year, some clever lads, all of whom have found food, water, sustainable food, water, and shelter from the winter. And they're sitting around a campfire, and they're saying, hey, let's go back to the city and rebuild it. The others laugh. They say, okay, let's say I hoof it for 3 days back to the city. Who's going to bring me food and water while I'm there in the city, while I'm walking for 3 days? And once I get there, what am I going to rebuild? Electricity or water? How? I don't know anything about that. I don't have the equipment. I don't have the supplies. And when I utterly fail and get back in 3 weeks, all my animals and my crops are going to have been stolen. There's no way I'm leaving my farm. I have food and water here, and I'm staying here. Civilization is gone. Done. Perhaps for hundreds of years. The world will have been thrown back to pre-industrial revolution. We will be living in 1810. Now, Moses knew this. He predicted we would grow into the billions. He was right. He predicted we would select leaders by popular election. He was right. Popular election does not select good leaders. It selects the best salesman. The guy who gets elected is not the best leader. He's the guy who can convince more people than anyone else that he is the best leader. Whether he is or not, he's the best salesman. These leaders made horrible decisions that end up putting us completely reliant on technology, that ends up not helping us, but instead makes us vulnerable to naturally occurring events that before 1859 never bothered us. These events occurred throughout human history. They do not affect biological living creatures. They only affect electrical conductors that are longer than 1,000 feet, like the windings in a pump or the windings in a generator or the electrical conductors that are strung up all across our nation and Europe and every industrialized nation in the world, including China and Russia. So, on that good note, I will leave you until next time. Remember, Moses knew it all. He knew this would happen. He predicted it. Next time, same channel, same time.